let's call it the strategy and the thesis at Generative Ventures. How would you describe it, and with particular focus on sort of the intersection of fintech, blockchain, and AI? I think I saw you, sort of give an overview of this in a previous interview where, you sort of described the sort of three areas that, sort of intersect as each of one of those has their own constituencies that you're bringing a certain type of value and a certain lens to, whether that be fintech, blockchain, or AI. So I don't know if you want to use that framework or you want to use a different one, but I'm just curious how to explain the strategy for folks
Sure.
that may be less familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it's an early stage fund. We do checks 500K to 1.5 million, kind of at the top end. We're about halfway deployed, and we like companies that are 50 million in market cap and if possible 20. So depends on the market. In terms of thesis, like the simplest version is robots will create all of the GDP in the future, and crypto's robot money, and we're investing in that, right? Like that's the most basic one. And I think that narrative has spread in the public. This Coinbase is building AI agentic payments. Stripe is building AI agentic payments. So sort of the cat's out of the bag. I think we try to anchor it not in sort of this is a hot theme and this is a hot theme, but rather what's the evolution of economic activity and growth, and then how do we support it by focusing on the financial systems that are appropriate for it. There's three pillars or kind of buckets of things we invest in. So the first is machine economy, like pure high risk science fiction stuff, so that would be the crypto AI sector. We did a AI agent payment protocol called Nevermind, or Deepin, where our largest investment is in a company called Peak, PEAQ. So it's a Deepin layer 1. We also have done protocol level investments. So that's the second bucket, just things that will make the machine economy function. And so we've done investments in ZK companies like Tyco, ZKVM layer 2, or Pi Squared around verification and being able to use multiple languages to program to EVM, and a number of others. And then the third one is the money part, so the financial applications. And here, especially more recently, given the changing political climate, we've looked at stablecoin issuers that are a bit more applied than the prior generation, more integrated. So One Money, WSPN, and then we've also looked at stablecoin and DeFi orchestration. So less on like, how do I get my levered perp exchange on this layer 3 something or other that I can dump on my meme coin followers, but more about like, which of these architectures can sustain growing economic activity. And so that's always been my bias, at least. That's not necessarily in fashion at the moment, but it feels like the right thing to devote yourself to.
No, and I think there's also an element here of when you talked about sort of your career trajectory, you said something I thought that was very interesting and thoughtful. You were comfortable being wrong until you were right, and sort of being able to shirk I'll call it the market skepticism on like what the future looks like, because I do think it's really hard for, I'll call it the general public or sort of the zeitgeist to really follow where things are going. And to see it. But when you think about the intersectionality of blockchain, AI, and fintech, can you talk a little bit about where we are today in this moment in sort of the technological sort of journey that is those three technologies, and why they're coming together in this moment in a really special way for you? And again, I think you could, look at history of like, fintech, in the Web2 context, and then moving now into sort of Web3 and crypto money and so forth. But I think there's something very unique about the combination of these three technologies. And it seems like you've really built a firm sort of around that sort of concept. So what makes this moment in time, in your opinion, really interesting? And how does that perpetuate over the next 10 years in a way that you think is just fundamentally groundbreaking?
There's so many different ways to take this question. And I feel like I'll try one and then forget what I was talking about, So the sort of the glib and fun answer is I am still a Ray Kurzweil singularity guy. Like, Kurzweil, I don't think was wrong. I think we are on path to singularity in 2030. That means brain-computer interfaces with sort of AI communication or augmentation of your own processing. I think that also means embodied AI, like in our homes and in the streets. And I think high potential for runaway intelligence that becomes sort of like a structure for our polity. So it's not going to be called the singularity, but it's going to feel really strange. And I think you can already feel it in the sense that like human agency curls around the things that large AI algorithms want. So as you notice your attention, for example, going from being able to read a book to now 15 seconds on TikTok in response to what's served to you, there's a commodifying and dehumanizing element where we perform tasks that are desired by mathematical output.